Welcome to the AI Lab Unfiltered Podcast, where we talk about everything AI in a practical sense. We have a very special guest today, don't we, Pete?
We sure do.
We do. we actually have one faux guest.
A special guest?
I'm an imposter guest. I really am.
And then a real guest.
Yes.
No.
We have Rachel Hammond, which is very exciting to have her here. She is an associate professor of management at Calvin University. And we're going to talk about AI in a very practical sense today in education, in marketing, and really in publishing too, because you have a book that you're going to talk about as well. And always we have Mr. Josh Parker.
I'm just the jokester in the corner. Yeah.
Comic relief.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It's going to be really great. I mean, when you said marketing and AI, I was very intrigued.
Good.
Yes.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Before we dig into the book, we're so professional here. We have this all scripted out. Could you just tell us a little bit about your background? Yeah. We were talking a little bit before we came in here, where you went to school, kind of how you got into AI and led to the book. And
yeah, I mean, I care a lot about education because I've spent a good chunk of my career in higher ed. I had a communications undergrad and then a master's and doctorate in management. And so I started off in banking. So I was retail banking right out of college. And after our branch was robbed twice in the first summer that I worked there, I was like, maybe this isn't the right career path. No.
My goodness.
Yeah.
I would throw in a second guess.
Right? I'm like, I don't know what else to do. But I found myself in training and development and realized I really liked teaching people and making complex things understandable. And so that led me into higher ed. So that's kind of where I've been ever since, after that stint in HR, training development, things like that. So I teach mainly human resources, organizational behavior, consulting, management topics at Calvin University. So that's what I do.
And you haven't been mugged since.
And I haven't.
Good.
It's a much safer environment, actually. Yes, it's good.
Good.
Yeah.
so then, how does this book come to be?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So we, as everyone did, when chat rolled out, it was, what is this? What's this going to mean for all of us? Can it make my recipe list for me? Can it plan my trip to Hawaii? All the things. And then it was also like, our students are using it. And we also need to figure out how to use it. And so decided to really kind of dig in and figure out what that might mean as an educator. So I've been trying to think about that, think with colleagues about that. And then I have my co-editor, Hannah Walters, is a professor at Northern State University in South Dakota. And she was like, hey, have I a project for you? And so we got together and put together a proposal. I mean, it was fall of 2023 at this point. So, trying to say we need to provide resources for marketing professors that want to have AI elements in their curriculum. And so that's really where the onus of the book came from.
Why marketing?
That's her field.
Okay.
And I was the sidekick, kind of like you are today.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I always am. Absolutely. Nothing wrong with that.
We've been looking for a good project, and I care about AI in education. And really, when you think about a curriculum, there's not going to be AI textbooks really quickly. Right. And so in all the areas of marketing, and we're like, how can we provide faculty with a resource where you can talk about a little bit of branding, a little bit of e-commerce, a little bit of product development. And so they can take it to whatever course makes sense. And so that was really what we thought. We're going to provide a resource for faculty to then use. What are we thinking about this? What are people saying about this? And what's the research saying about it too? And so we have both researchers and practitioners that spoke into the chapters of the book.
Okay. That's
Cool. Yeah.
Nice.
So I got to imagine with a classroom of students, some of those people are going to be early adopters, and that's going to be pretty threatening in the beginning anyway of what are you using, especially when ChatGPT, like you said, came out, where it was like, oh my gosh, this tool just revolutionized how I write, how I do stuff.
Yes.
How do you address that in the beginning? Like, how did that feel of, oh crap, what are they using now that we're not even up to speed on?
And I don't, It's terrifying, actually, as an educator. As you can imagine, because they were using it immediately. I think 2024 McKinsey study said that 65% of students like in that range are using it on a regular basis. So it's almost everyone. It's probably higher than that now, right? And so there was a portion of our students that were terrified to use it because they thought they'd get in trouble. So
Rule followers.
You have some of
Not
those at
sidekicks,
Calvin.
Terrible sidekicks.
And then, it was a good portion that it became, and still is, it's like another Google. And so, I mean, you come to class and you're like, okay, group work, let's posit a question or whatever. And they put it in chat. I'm like, no, you have a table group to discuss with, not a chat. Like,
There's real people still.
There's real people still. And so it's just trying to help them understand what's the best way to use it to learn. And then the bigger question is, what are they walking into when they leave college? And how are they going to be asked to use it immediately? And then I was really interested in, are we creating the students that leave what we're doing? Are they going to be asked to operate at a 3 to 5 year level? Because the things that we used maybe entry level employees for, we might ask a tool to do that. And then we want them to maybe analyze the tool. Well, they usually spent that first 3 years learning how to do the job. And so how do we get them to have the skill set to be able to jump into maybe a 3-year position instead of entry level? So that's tricky too.
So there's a lot of forward thinking then of obviously you're embracing it going, this tool's here to last. This is AI's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah.
So to roll that out with students of here's how to use it responsibly in the future. Here's how to use it ethically going forward. And here's how you could probably use it in your job.
Yes. Yeah.
Does the whole, and not just to out only your university, but do universities in general have that same sentiment of how are we going to incorporate this because it is going to be a future thing? Or do you see a lot more resistance than it is adoption?
I mean, I don't know. I think we were talking earlier about there's the people that say no way, and there's people that say absolutely. Yeah. And I think the same is in every institution. You have the early adopters, or, our computer science area has embraced it pretty heavily. There's portions of my faculty that are really excited about it. And some are like, I'm not quite so sure. But our business, the business owners that are taking our interns and our students, they're like, you got to use it day one. Don't you know what you're doing?
Do you guys have, I'm really curious too about, do you guys at Calvin, do you have a unified, everyone's embracing it, or there's pieces and segments where, because I know that I was talking to a couple professors and they're like, we're going to use AI checkers, no AI. And then there's other professors that are like, no, it's going to be part of the curriculum.
So do you know anything about faculty? They don't like to be told what to do.
I don't either. So I resonate highly with that.
Yeah. I mean, we have some policies that here's some suggested AI policies, and but everyone is going to incorporate it very differently. I have a design thinking professor that they taught the processes of design thinking and went through the work. And then he's like, and here's also a tool that does it, creates a persona in 1 second. And now the students are like, oh. And so he's like, I want you to know both processes. And then there are some, that are like, nope.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try and make sure, and that's really impossible, but we're going to try it anyway.
Right.
And you have to think differently about how you teach and the type of assignments you give students to help them maybe engage differently. So I've brought it back to paper tests from just a security standpoint, and more reflective application-based learning.
Do you think that book helps bridge that gap then?
I think so.
I mean, that sounds like it's a perfect fit for what you just did.
Yeah. What we did is it has good foundation of, for example, branding. Here's what branding looks like, and then this is what AI can contribute to branding. And then what we tried to do is provide case studies and exercises in each chapter, so that a faculty member doesn't have to start from zero. They can say, let's also think about how we use AI to help us advance the conversation and on these topics. And so it's a starting point. But it bridges the gap. That's the goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I got to imagine other people are going to look at that and go, okay, this is not as threatening. And here's a practical example of someone in our faculty that co-wrote this book.
Right. That did something
to help. So.
Yeah. I was at an academic conference last August, and it was wild walking into the exhibitors center because every single booth was like, here's our AI tool.
Yeah.
And here's where you can have, students interact with AI, and then it'll grade it for you with AI, and then you give feedback, like all the things. And so it's definitely everywhere. But yes, it's a little nerve-wracking how to make it work. And so yes, trying to bridge the gap is important. Yeah.
Were there any surprises for you in going through the book? Like I never thought that AI would do that, or like even it sounds like you did some research too, and to be able to put into there like anything that literally jumped out at you.
I think what was maybe not surprising but confirming for me is that very consistently we had all these different authors from all Turkey and the UK and US talking about their fields, like they're very their discipline, and everyone had. And we also have to consider the ethical side. And so it was interesting to see the points of, hey, we all need to consider this. And it was very clear that that was maybe not surprising. Like, yeah, that's important. Because like I'm at a liberal arts university. I personally think, and I don't know, I'd love to hear what you guys think, is that the skill sets that our students need are actually some of the liberal arts to be able to do well in AI environments. So it's critical thinking, judgment, ethical decision making, emotional intelligence. And so like how do we do that well along with the technical skills that they might need?
Yeah. I think that's from my opinion, that's right on. That's just having a quote yesterday. I was at a client and we were talking about how AI today won't replace people,
right,
but you could be replaced by people that are using AI.
Yep.
And
yes.
That's where I think, we were also talking about AI can get you 80 to 90% of, this is a good direction. But if you don't have critical thinking, like you said, you have to understand, is this good? And if you're using it to write an email, how is this person going to receive it? The emotional intelligence. Yeah. So I think you're right on, having that is really important.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's more and more so. Yeah.
That's the same for businesses too. Yes. Businesses that aren't looking into this or trying to learn about AI and how they could implement it are either going to lose in the market or get purchased by a company in their market that is doing it. And they're just going to buy their customers and apply their, what they're doing. And a university is different, but if I'm a student that's looking at Calvin and this department is not embracing AI because that faculty member isn't, and another one does, isn't there competition there too? So when Josh was asking you earlier about, is there any uniformity? It almost feels like there should be if you want to compete. Yeah. So if you were to create that framework, how would you do that?
Yeah, that's really good. There are some universities that have implemented specific programs. I was looking at a couple the other day, like Carnegie Mellon has one. University of Pennsylvania, I think, has a major. Some other places like Duke have a master's degree in AI or a concentration, right? I think that to do well, I think universities should and say, we could do this as a competitive advantage, right? Mm-hmm. And I think from a liberal arts standpoint, we can say we're preparing students from the critical thinking and the judgment. We're getting them ready to interact with technological tools and then position yourself from there. And then we also have these professional programs that will, like computer science and business, that will then help have you the skill, get you the skills to jump into the marketplace. So I think you really could. I haven't seen many universities that have done that well yet. We're still trying to figure it out. And higher ed moves at the pace of a very slow thing, a snail maybe. And so when you have technology that's, changing all the time, that makes it really hard, right, to keep up with it. Even writing a textbook is somewhat treacherous because, every chapter.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, that's the next question.
Right? It's so crazy because even at the end of every chapter, we put a bunch of, put in your tools that you would recommend. And probably by the time we go to print, a bunch of them will be obsolete. So we're trying to keep them updated on a website, but that's just the reality of it.
Yeah. So do you have to then supplement every time, every
I know.
6 months, a year
Yeah.
or something, it has to be updated essentially.
Yeah, I think we have a resource site that we're going to try and keep updated. But
That makes sense, yeah.
But that's almost, I mean, there's things that probably will be literally outdated by the time June rolls around because we just did our copy edits, last month or something. So we'll see. We'll see how.
But
that
I think
goes.
you have a lot of theory of how it
Yes.
gets used, not the actual. Here's exactly how to use this tool, this specific tool that came out in April. I think having that theory of how this is supposed to be used and integrated into your workflow, I think makes sense.
Yeah. So, maybe I think I'm trying to think of one of the chapters. A couple of them talk about, chatbots and how you use them and how that they have been used and how they'll continue to be used. Well, those are like principles rather than a specific tool. So,
Right.
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
If you were to double click into your book a little bit, I'm intrigued. Like what are
What a
some
segue.
I know. What are some things, some concepts in the book that you talk about with marketing of like how AI can help marketing?
Yeah, once again, I am not the marketing expert.
Yeah.
we solicited all this. So as we're reading, I learned a ton. So for example, I think the branding chapter, I think was super interesting, where it's thinking about how brands are communicated to customers and how that's changed so much. And so how, if you are communicated to about a brand via AI, how much less trustworthy that might be.
Yes.
And so how do you make then strategic decisions as a business about, your branding messaging and where that comes from and who should be communicating that? And so then that also had some kind of chatbot conversation too, because you also communicate branding through who you interact with. And if those are chatbots, what are those saying about you? And then I think there was a couple of chapters that talked about just the hyper personalization that's possible.
Yes.
Right.
Boy, you're taking all my questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
We'll just go sit in the hallway if you just do this yourself.
I talk for a living, so No, so the hyper personalization side is possible, and customers maybe are excited about it, but what happens from a privacy standpoint?
Yes.
So there was an example that one of the authors talked about I think it was Target, and there was a guy who is his daughter got diaper coupons, and he was so upset, and then he had to come back and say, "Oh, actually, my daughter was pregnant." And Target knew from her online activity. So how do we manage that? And so some of that is the ethical.
I feel like everybody wants more personalized ads because I bitch about it all the time when I'm on YouTube, and it's like, I don't need a new roof. I don't need.
But do you?
But maybe they think they know.
But then it's like if it was much more specific and if it was much more direct to me, I'd be more pleased. But at the same time, it's the whole, that's because they have less of my privacy that I gave up to get to that point.
Yeah.
So it does run that ethics of, I got to give that up to get the other side of it. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
and I don't know if
also
people are ready for that.
Getting AARP ads.
I know, it's disappointing.
That's
isn't it?
a real downer. I mean, they're right.
It can't be
Well,
true.
what I'll
That
say
is
about
the right target market.
side tangent, AARP, now it's for everyone.
I did learn that. I signed up because I wanted to save money on a car rental, which worked.
I'm an AARP member too.
And I went into the site and it's like, this isn't just for old people like you.
No,
this
see?
is for everyone now.
It's everyone.
Yeah.
See, you don't feel downer. There's my
Thank you. Still old, but
Oh man, but it's
Do
incredible.
you want to edit that out of the podcast now?
It's just the reality.
there's a camera. They know. There's a lot of gray hair here.
But it is incredible what feeding it all your data, what the companies know nowadays. So that is a huge thing with marketing, I would imagine.
Yeah, and then that leads into the ethics. Thinking
Right.
about the ethics of how do you train your marketers, so our marketing students, to do good in their work, and how do you bring good to your customers, to your organizations, and that's a complicated question.
Yes.
Right. So makes for interesting conversation.
We were, side quest,
Please do.
related. We were building a product. And I think to your point, we were able to see all the data, the usage of patterns of all the users. And we sent out this email that the title of it was I saw you yesterday, which our marketers sent it out, and everyone was like, this is really creepy. Like, how did you know I was here and doing this and doing that? So to your point, there's some ethics and some being tactful about, hey, you have all this data, you wield a lot of power. How do you do it?
How do you use it?
How do you use it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't you think we'll adjust though? Like we've gotten used to having ads show up. You talk about something around your phone and then those ads start showing up. We used to, everybody be like, I think they're listening. But now we know they're listening.
We know they are. Yeah.
And we're still going about our days. I think we'll just get used to that.
I think we're in the how much are they listening phase, and that'll quickly go away as well.
Yeah.
Like I said, once you get something more targeted where it's like, oh, I'm not going to question anymore because this is all stuff I want to see.
Yes.
Well, then you're not going to complain about it. You're not going to. It's not going to be a big deal at that point.
It's all in my mind like a value exchange, right? It's like you give something, but what do you get in return? And if that's an outsized equation of balance, then people won't want to give their information. But if you see value in like, hey,
Exactly.
a phone, I get a phone. Sure, you can get some information, but I'm getting ads that are relevant. Okay, well, we might be fine with that.
I think you hit some. It's the value of it, of what I'm willing to give up to go. Oh yeah, then that's my currency now.
Yes.
Is to go, yeah, you can have that. You can have my email because I want that ebook or whatever.
Yeah, which is why you gave your social security yesterday to ChatGPT.
All the perks.
Some kind of value comes out of that free AARP membership.
But to that point, like there with agents and in ChatGPT came out with the name escapes me, Operator, where it can use your browser, it can go do things on your behalf. Well, eventually you're going to want to give it your credit card so that it can go book that Hawaii trip or whatever. So we're going to be giving up even more, but now it's going to have financial access, right? Like your bank account, your credit card or whatever it is. And then if you want it to renew your tabs for your driver's license, well, then you're giving it your driver's license number and your social security number to verify that. We're just going to keep giving up more. I think where it's going to go is that Drew and I are going to be sitting around and he's going to talk about how targeted the ads are that he's getting in these cool ads. And I'm going to start getting jealous because I'm not getting as many great ads as he is. Like the flip where I used to be afraid to give it up, but now you're like competing to see who can get the more targeted, like your AI might be a little bit better than mine. Who are you using? Like, why are your ads so good? Like, why are you getting all these cool things sent to your house?
It knows you need a new roof before you do.
Shingles just show up.
It went to Google Earth. It looked down. It zoomed in on your house. Like this doesn't look too
cameras
good
in your house. It's leaking. You should probably get a new roof.
Yeah, and stop kicking the cat too.
Just don't look at my algorithm. That's all. Just don't publish that. So then the flip side of that is consumers. We're talking the marketer side of it. Now that AI can generate content, it can analyze customer behavior, it can optimize campaigns. What does the role of a marketer then become in the future? You know, we're talking about the consumer side of it. What about I'm in marketing and I'm doing this. Now this is I don't want to say it's taking over my job, but it's definitely changing the role and enhancing what I do.
I think it goes back to what you were saying. It gets you 80% there. So we have students that come through that are not creative. Maybe they're more strategic, right? And so this is for them. This is amazing because it allows them to have some of the creativity that I would naturally have. And so, I love thinking about AI as augmenting instead of replacing. But there are a lot of just rote tasks or optimization tasks that you don't need people to do anymore because you can just feed it into a AI tool. Yeah. So maybe the roles change to be more strategic, more you design something and then you have to analyze it and make sure it's optimized, or put it through an ethical lens.
What do you think about AI generated content? Because one of the things that I think, I'm hypothetically thinking here that in the future, and we're starting to already see this, is that AI generated content maybe perceived as devalued compared to human created content. Do you go into that at all?
It is interesting with our publisher. So kind of side story is when we started this process, there was no conversation about how we're going to use AI in any of the process of just creating the call, getting the everything. By the time we got to finalizing it, they wanted us to have an AI statement for every chapter, what people used, what AI tools were used.
Oh, really?
And for any of our editing, we could not use any sort of editing tool, AI tool to do any editing.
Oh, wow.
So I checked every one of those references by hand because they said that's not allowed. When we started, that was not the case.
Is that because of the accuracy they were concerned about?
I just think they hadn't thought about it.
Efficacy, or
Yeah.
if that's a real word.
I think they didn't want a pre-published element thing out into the ether, I guess, you know, for us to put it into a tool or something.
Yeah.
So I think that, yes, I think you're right on that. I do think that the human created thing, if you can validate that, how do you validate that?
Right.
It's tough.
Where it comes from.
The AI checkers, I know are also wrong.
They're
You know,
wrong.
they can be totally wrong.
Right.
So I know a couple people that have been in university that have had their papers checked, and they spent blood, sweat, and tears just doing their work, and they're like, oh yeah, that was AI created, and they're like, actually no, it wasn't. Yeah.
It's almost impossible to distinguish. Well, I mean, there are some major signs if they leave in the paper what we think you should say about this. Or here's 5 suggestions. With
I hope this paper finds you well.
What's funny?
You get a good grade.
You clearly wrote that in AI.
I was writing a blog article and I wrote it with AI as a starting point, and I was like, what do you think? And I sent it to one of my team members, and they're like, this sounds way too smart to be you.
Well, there's
Too big of words.
throwing some misspelled words.
Exactly.
That, makes it more human.
But you can train it on your previous writings,
Right.
and then it'll pass it. Like,
Yeah,
it
then it
becomes
does.
indistinguishable
Make this at a 4th
that
grade
point.
level. That's Josh.
Dumb this down a little. I think it really comes down to relevance, because if you put in, I use it a lot for writing. I'm a terrible writer, but I know the points I want to make.
Yes.
So to have I want to talk about this, here's the points, here's the points, here's the points, and I got 20 different points in there, and it's almost just string this together where it makes sense, where it flows correctly, grammatically correct, that type of thing. And you read that blog article or article I wrote versus write me an article on the same topic, but I give it one sentence and it has to figure it out. You're going to get a lot of marketing fluff in there. You're going to get a lot of just bigger words to be strung together where you go, there's no value to it. There's no substance to this versus the other one. So that to then say, well, which one was written by AI? Well, both. But it's just how much is actual meat and content that's in there.
Right.
I think that's the biggest. And then going back to, it's just a tool.
Yeah.
It's going to get 80% of the way there once you add in all the meat that you want in there.
But you saved the 3 hours of looking at your blank screen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know how to start this thing.
That's
What's my hook? I don't know.
Yeah.
Give me 10 hooks and then I can get going.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's neat. I use it all the time for like stream of consciousness. You know, it's like you have all these random thoughts and you're like, help me put them together in cohesive.
Yes, I do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe I just think jumbled. Maybe
No,
that's the conclusion.
I think most of us do, right? And sometimes I have, I wrote this, throw it all in and create an outline. I do that sometimes for teaching outlines or for just papers. I'm like, I have all these ideas. I don't know where are the themes? Like, what's the thread here? So it's like a thought partner.
Which is interesting. That's the opposite of how I typically use it, where I'm taking almost an outline, building an outline,
and
putting
set-
there, build me something bigger.
Right.
You're
I'm
saying
doing it the
I
other
wrote
way.
all this.
Yeah.
I need an outline based out of this.
Or a key point. I'm like, what's my point? I don't know. It's a lot of words. Not saying much.
Do you talk in the book at all about, we've done things on our team like building landing pages, and does it go to that depth of tactics, or is it more at the theory level? Like
that's a good question. I think some of the chapters are a tiny bit more tactical. It's not a technical textbook.
Sure.
just because you almost need that to be a handbook or an online resource that gets updated.
It changes all
It changes so much. And we hope that then a faculty will take that and then add what their knowledge is to then take it the next level, because we do want it to be relevant more than 2 weeks.
Yes. Yep. It's so interesting to see that pace of AI, isn't it?
It is.
This rapid pace. Yeah.
Will there be another book that covers another topic?
We've talked about it, we've talked about maybe doing my field. So doing one that's maybe around management, maybe human resources. I've been thinking a bit about what AI looks like in the human resources arena, because there's a lot of potential pitfalls when it comes to how you manage people and manage performance because there's so many AI tools that like promise that they can make it easier. So that's maybe another project we're trying to figure out if we need a break, but I'm not sure because it's a big undertaking.
If you did a management book on AI, what do you think that would entail with AI, that tagline at the end? Like what is that?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think that would look like?
Yeah. I mean, I think when I think about it is, can we avoid, this is like a big word, so I'm sorry. My husband says I use way too many like 4-syllable words, so I'm apologizing. But like, how can we avoid the dehumanization of labor in this world of AI? And so that is getting to meaningful work. It's getting into how are we job crafting in a place where jobs have changed a lot, but we still want people to feel like they have purpose and that they're engaging their skill set and the gifts that they've been given in the workplace. It might also mean thinking about the bias that's built in to these AI tools, from like the recruiting process all the way through performance management, and how do we create really human-centered tools that avoid some of those things, but keep some of the efficiency that it brings. I think that's tricky.
It is tricky. Yeah, it's fascinating. We did an exercise internally. We had a whole conversation internally about this on our team, and we asked it, simple prompt you can say with different, it's crazy to go to different chatbots like Gemini and ChatGPT and ask it, I just got elected president of the United States. What should I do in my first term? And then I'm not making it this political, the podcast,
Sure.
but it's interesting, right? Because they all have different biases.
Yeah.
So, and that'll unfeather their bias, which is really interesting. So had a whole discussion about that.
Cut USAID. And that's what happened.
There we go.
Oh, man.
All driven by AI.
Yeah, exactly.
By President AI.
So AI at the higher education level, kind of a two-part question.
Sure.
Where do you think it's going to go, and where would you like it to go if those two things are different?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'll put it in my world, which is our, the School of Business. What I would hope to see is that the ideas or the concepts of using AI tools and thinking through that will find its way into the curriculum organically, so that we don't just do the thing of just like, here, take an AI class and now you're fine. I also think that there's a lot of value in us partnering with, say, our computer science area and creating maybe interdisciplinary courses so that we can think about, the process of doing business, but like the technical sides of understanding how, large language models work and things like that. So I would hope to see that we see more of that happening. We have, I think it's fall 2026, we're hoping to bring an AI conference to Calvin that is interdisciplinary in nature. So that's, kind of to that end, like, let's advance the conversation. Derek Sherman has thought a lot about technology, and just kind of, even from, we're a faith-based university, like, how does that interact with it? So he's kind of leading the charge on that. I would also hope that we continue to engage with businesses. Like, how are we, and understand how the expectations that students have as they're going in. And I think that, we did some focus groups this spring on that. And almost every person I talked to was like, they need more technology. They need to be able to use these tools, and every single person said that. And so I'm hopeful that would be the direction as well. I don't think I answered your question, but
Well, you gave an
second
idea
half
of
where
how
I'd
you-
like it to.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Is it different than where you think in reality it will go?
You know, I just don't. I think that innovation is hard in higher ed because two things. One, the higher ed environment is there's a lot of challenges financially and where students are and like all the things. And then secondly, it just moves rather slow, and so we have to find ways like in the margins to just continue to push this forward. And that's partnerships, that's curricular stuff. It's, at the faculty level, how can we learn the most we can to make the best environment for our students? So, yeah.
It reminds me of, I liked your response a lot because it's, we work in a lot of corporate innovation. And so that you run into these organizations that say, oh, innovation is this group's responsibility.
Right.
And then you're like, well, wait a minute, isn't innovation everyone's responsibility?
yeah.
And it's the same thing with AI. I think
is.
you're saying is like, it's not just like a tech group. It's like the whole organization.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have a work group that's thinking through it. We did a big pilot over the summer using Copilot to kind of figure out how we might use it. So we're trying to do some of those things.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
How are you using it in your personal life, AI?
I think anytime I'm just wondering about something, I just get a second opinion.
Yeah.
What does the collective knowledge of the world say? But I honestly, I use it for classroom planning. I have my outlines or how I've done things. I'm like, what's another activity I can do? Or what's a case study? Like create a case study so I can have this discussion in class. Or what's, we had talked about work-life balance in my senior class the other day. I was like, okay, I can think of all the things I think about work-life balance, but what are some other thoughts? Pull a literature review, to use a dorky term, but like, what does the world say about it? I did use it to create multiple options for our trip we're trying to take to Hawaii this summer. I was like, plan me a 12-day trip to Hawaii.
Josh has got some tips on that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You can ask. That's how I got the AARP membership, actually, because interesting enough, we were going to Legoland and my family, and it's like, oh, click this direct link to sign up for AARP and you get this discount. And I'm like,
Excellent.
what?
Well,
Wonderful.
Okay. Good to know.
But you did you go on your trip to Hawaii?
No,
already?
we're going this summer. It's very front of mind because I'm trying to plan it, but yeah,
When is the trip?
in June.
So did AI plan everything for you?
Well, I said, okay, we want some relaxation, some adventure. Here's our costs. Here's the, time we want to go, the 2 islands we want to go to, and give me recommendations, prices, all that. And so activity wise, it was super helpful.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was like, go here on this day and then go to this place for dinner. And here's some cost estimation. So it was actually super helpful.
Well, where was it not helpful in your mind?
I think giving lots of options for hotels, I said, hey, give me this type of hotel, and it doesn't say that it's available or what the actual price is.
It's on a list.
It's just here's an option for a really cool place.
Yes.
And then you have to go find it or whatever.
Yep.
What tools do you use?
For me, I'm using mostly chat. Like that's kind of my home place, I guess, where I'm whatever.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, sorry, all the kids call it chat. So.
Oh, sorry.
Did you guys not know that?
Oh man, I didn't know
Well,
that.
that's crunk. Whatever that means.
No, that's literally they'll say I'm gonna
Man.
ask chat.
I just realized I'm not cool. That's what happened in this moment.
He just realized that.
AI could have told you that.
I was cool.
But I've been also experimenting with some, other scholarship-based tools. I think Cite is one of them, Perplexity, and then just, some of the image generation, Midjourney and Dallies, because you can bring fun stuff into the class,
Yeah.
which is
It's not very good with text.
No, it is not. It destroys it.
Yeah, you're looking at it. You're like, I think that's misspelled.
And it
That's
always
how Josh
is.
would spell it. But
Yeah.
Looks fine to me.
But when you're trying to like create some, slide decks and have images, it's a lot easier than trying to go and find something that doesn't have royalties attached to it.
That's
but then
right.
does it?
Exactly. Does it? Does it?
So that's another discussion for another day, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Also, can't get fingers right.
There's usually
Usually like
8
six
like
fingers
six,
or yeah.
too large.
Yes.
Looks like a Simpsons hand, or it looks like some morphed thing.
Yeah.
So when is the book coming out again? Remind-
June.
June.
Yeah,
Okay.
mid June.
We can. And where can people get it?
Yeah, I mean it's a textbook, so woohoo.
I'm excited. For
Yes, I mean sure. It's through Routledge, and so it's through their website.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that'll filter into Amazon and other places that they rent and sell their textbooks. So
I
that's
have the link if you want to pre-order it.
yeah.
I'll throw it
I'll
in
do
the
that.
episode.
Yeah,
exciting.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great.
Awesome. Well, Rachel,
Yeah.
always great talking to you,
Sure,
having you
yeah.
on here
Thanks
and
for letting
talking
me
about
babble.
just your perspective of this has been really neat. It's been really refreshing from our white male bias here.
Speaking of bias,
and now you
Speaking
can,
of bias.
and now you can call it chat and be cool with all your
Yeah.
And we
teenage
learned
friends.
something.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm
learned
hip
something.
now.
That's right. Yeah, that's good.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks
you.
for having me.
And if you'd like to know more about today's episode and want to see the link below for the book, click below. If you want to subscribe and learn more and hear more podcasts from us, click subscribe. Thanks, everybody.